Hi guys, and welcome to the first video about the building of Team Hamster Racing's first race car. I'm James, or Hamster as a lot of people know me, and this is our E87 116i BMW 1 Series, which we're going to be entering in the 116 trophy run by the 750 Motor Club. Obviously the car is still fairly standard, it's almost as we got it, but I wanted to document the build as we go along, so better place to start than right at the beginning. We have already done a couple of bits on it. We bought the car basically as a non-runner. It had a very knackered clutch, and a big thank you to James from GMP Hartford there, who let us get the car low loaded down to his workshop, and then we put it straight on the ramp. Put the clutch in it along with a lightweight flywheel, so that is one of the quite few modifications you're allowed to do to the car for this trophy series. And seeing as we had to put a flywheel in it anyway, or at least it's highly recommended that you put a flywheel in it anyway, then it wasn't really any issue to put a clutch in it, so we sort of got the car relatively cheap. You can see it's also had some rear quarter repairs. Thankfully I've been in the motor trade now for just over 20 years, and if I can't do it myself then I tend to know someone who can. A good friend of mine who's an excellent panel beater has knocked those back into shape, and we haven't bothered gloss spraying them and having them all done properly, because that's going to all be wrapped to the back end in our livery anyway. The doors on the driver's side did also have a fair few dents in them. With the parts for these cars being so readily available, it would have been silly to get the doors repaired and sprayed, so popped out in the van, picked up a couple of spare doors and bolted them straight on, and it does not look too bad. A few gaps that needs sorting out slightly, but not too bad. The side skirt on this side, I've got a new one of those to put on as well, but thanks to our sponsors we have been able to now go out and buy most of the parts that we need. We've got a roll cage coming, we've got the suspension kit from Gaz Suspension coming, all sorts of other little pieces, bucket seats, harnesses, a couple of little engine modifications. But so particularly thanks to our title sponsor for this year, the Sausage Man. Do go and check out our Instagram, because we've got a competition running at the moment in conjunction with the Sausage Man for a lovely box of beer, and believe me from personal experience they are cracking beverages, as well as all of their sausages and other products that they do, which are all fantastic. The car, as you can see, is still pretty much standard. It's almost a shame to rip into it because the interior and everything is really quite lovely. I think the car had been sitting for a good couple of years in a guy's garden who was going to get it up and running. I think he ran out of money. I think it was possibly owned by a drug dealer or someone similar at some point. It had tinted windows, it had bigger wheels, it did have M-Tech rear lights, it's still got an M-Tech rear bumper on it. I know these aren't allowed in the series, so that will be coming off really quite soon. The standard lights are in it now. I've wired those in yesterday and did have to reorganise where all of the wires went, because for some reason the M-Tech lights work in a different order to the standard lights, but they're all on and working properly now. So this is basically our first race car, but certainly not our first involvement in racing. We've as a group of friends, we've been involved in motorsport for a couple of years now. Due to our employers at Lancaster Motor Company, we did go racing in 2018 and 2019 building a Boxster. Last shot there of my team. Nearly everyone in that photo is going to be involved in Team Hamster Racing. Basically the Boxster was built sort of by consortium in 2018 and entered into a race series, or the Porsche Club Championship, in class 3, and we did okay, but there was no one really spearheading what we were doing, and little bits were done by different people from here, there and everywhere, and the car was distinctly average. I took over the project in 2019, rebuilt the car again, and we went and contested and we came third in the championship. So when that was all over and at the end of that season the car was sold, me and the guys, we basically didn't want to stop going racing. So first thing first, I went out and bought the van, which, you know, anyone who's been racing knows you need a bit of support, and that was a fairly big old build on its own. Again, it was a relatively cheap purchase, and I've put about a year and a half's worth of work into turning that into a race support vehicle. Now we've got that, we can get on with the car. So it is the standard 116i, no real performance modifications. This is the N45B16A engine. It's a little bit pokier than it was. Now we've got the lightweight flywheel on it, and there is, in the rules, we can now fit a larger air mass tube and a couple of little things. It will then be remapped to a club standard map, but the car will be a fair bit more peppy than it was a standard. But I say, there isn't a huge amount of modification you can do within this series, which is one of the reasons why we've picked it. We did have a look at a couple of others. We had a look at Enduro KA and a few more series where we thought that you could really get a fair amount of seat time for your money, but in the end, BMW seemed to be the way to go for me. Personally, I've had a BMW track car for over 10 years now. And that has just been one long ongoing build, really. When I first bought it, we basically put some tyres on it and went to the Nürburgring. First ever track day at the Nürburgring just over 10 years ago. And it's just slowly snowballed from there to the point where I now set up a limited company to go racing, and this will be our first build. So I hope to keep these videos coming. Obviously there'll be much more to see when we get a few more parts. The car will be going into the garage. I've got a track day in a couple of weeks in the 3 Series, and then the 3 will be getting hoisted out of the garage, and the 1 Series will be going in complete front end stripped down and rebuild, probably engine chain. Certainly I know I need to take the sump off, replace the oil pickup and a few other bits and pieces in there, and then all the suspension will be coming off it, because we've got a set of gas coilovers that we need to run. Obviously we'll be improving the brakes. You can't really do much, but you can run whatever brake pads you want, and obviously we'll need new discs and new brake hoses, brake fluid, etc, etc. And speaking of brake fluid, don't forget that we are now also in partnership with Rimax lubricants. So do check out Rimax, guys. They do a huge quantity of lubricants, as well as things like hand cleaner and engine additives and stuff. They do all standard road car oils with manufacturer's codes on them, as well as racing fluids and lubricants, gearbox oils that we'll certainly be using in this when we get it up and going properly. I will continue to post these videos if there's any interest in them. Hopefully there'll be a lot more to show you as and when the full strip starts and we start getting some race suspension and things like that. We have got a set of wheels that are going to be going on it. I'm just about to get those painted and then shod with the correct tyres for the series. And we are allowed to run one set of non-genuine BMW wheels, which we might buy later on in the build, depending on the amount of money left in the budget. I think they are a bit lighter, so it would be worth having, but we'll have to see how we get on. We've not completely filled the budget yet, but thankfully we have got a few sponsors on board already, and there will be another couple of announcements coming in the next few weeks. So I will continue with these videos, particularly as and when we get some parts ready to bolt on it. I might even do one on the van and one on the 3 Series if people are interested. I know there's some followers of transporter vans and they'd like a bit of that. So that's about it, guys. If you like, subscribe, follow, all of that jazz. Thanks for watching, and listen to me, I sound like some sort of influencer, just without any actual influence.